Welcome to the Lost Lowdown, podcast number 95, with your hosts, Claude and Justin.
What's up, guys?
We're continuing our commentary series, back with episode 113, Hearts and Minds. But before we get into the episode, Justin and I wanted to just take a moment to give a shout-out to the listeners, just, a little quiet moment to break the fourth wall and say what's up out there.
Acknowledge all of you. Hello.
Hello. Nice to see you, everyone. We hope everybody's enjoying the commentary series so far. We've been having a fairly good schedule, production schedule, doing like one a week, so consistently. So I don't want to get anyone used to that too strongly, because if you know us, it's liable to change at a certain point. But hopefully we'll at this rate we'll be steaming through, plodding through the seasons.
Steamily plodding.
Yeah, it's not steaming when you're going one a week, but it's sort of more plodding, consistent plodding.
It's almost like the show's on, and we're just doing our podcast every week.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, maybe this is the alternate reality of podcasting when us podcasting when Lost was first on.
Yeah.
What is this show? What is the island? Except in this alternate reality, we've seen the show, so we know everything.
Right, so we're already jaded.
Yeah. Well, I hope everybody's enjoying watching Reliving the Season with us, and give us a shout-out if you are on this LLD commentary train. We know we got some long-time listeners out there letting us know that they're watching. If you have any new listeners, definitely contact us and say hi. Justin, how can they do that?
Well, there's many ways. You can go to the original blog page, which you can get to by going to thelostlowdown.com. Thank you to Bob M. for maintaining that so that we have a nice URL. We also have a forum at tllld.net. Thank you to Steven for maintaining that for so long.
Endless hours.
Much appreciated. And let's see, we have an email address. It's lostlowdown@gmail.com. I don't know. Thanks, Google.
Thank you, Google. You are God. The internet God.
And we have a Twitter feed, which is The Lost Lowdown.
And none of these we check.
No, not one.
Just in case you're wondering, you can contact us, and we'll get back to you next year. Speaking of us taking a while to get back to somebody, we got a great couple of emails from a longtime listener, Ryan King, who is, I believe, still going through our big finale podcast on the end, and gave us a couple of emails with his thoughts on Jacob's Cabin, that whole mess. If you're familiar,
I think anyone who listens to this podcast probably is.
And Jacob's Cabin and the Afterlife and the whole Flash Sideways stuff.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the cabin, I feel like the cabin can never be repaired, but on the Afterlife stuff, he does mention something that I agree with, which is that I don't think we're meant to believe that they didn't tell us this exactly, but I don't think we're meant to believe that they lived out their entire lives in the afterlife, from birth to when they wake up and realize they're all dead,
Yeah.
I think it kind of just starts maybe just on the plane like they showed, at the beginning of season 6.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really just, it was constructed in that way to get them to eventually remember what was happening. But it wasn't meant to be a place to live another life.
Yeah, I totally agree with that too. It's so weird thinking about the end in context of doing these commentaries and still being in season 1 and just like no one's thinking about the afterlife right now when Kate is up a tree, you know.
Right. Yeah, no, I know. And I mean, he also talks about like the afterlife as, you know, whether it's universal or it's connected to the island. I mean, I'd say that's probably one of my main problems with that as a concept. I mean, introducing the afterlife and then just sort of not specifying what that means in the larger picture. Like, I mean, I sort of have problems with it no matter what they do. But
well, they did specify it. That's how they put a symbol of every religion ever.
You're right. That's a good point. I guess that basically tells us it is a universal thing. Mm-hmm. It's just that, you know, this was our character's like version of it.
Yeah.
More or less. But I guess yeah. So, but I kind of wish that the island had something to do with it, or there was some, you know, there was some extra thing that experience got them. I wish that were true, but, you know.
Yeah, or some sort of realization that how does the island relate to the afterlife or this purgatory world, or, you know, the Flash Sideways world? Is it like, you know, the island is like step 1 and that Flash Sideways is step 2 and, you know, the afterlife is step 3 or something, you know, in this weird hierarchy of supernatural domains, you know. They didn't really put it in context other than to say, well, the island was a weird place and it was important for them to all go through this stuff together.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Because it should have some relation. I mean, considering it's, you know, dead people get trapped there, so it's like,
well, yeah,
it's like a version of the Flash Sideways, except it's not happy for them. They're in a new reality that, you know, that they're stuck in, and they have their own memories, but it's not about them getting past it. They're just stuck there, apparently.
Right. That's the other thing I didn't like about it. I feel like they failed to connect the Flash Sideways afterlife with the ghosts that appear in the real world.
That would have been awesome. That would have been really awesome to make that work. Like the ghosts of the people who couldn't get into their purgatory or something.
Yeah.
You know, and they realized that by you know, maybe Michael not being in their afterlife and going, oh, that means something. He's stuck on the island or something. Right.
But it just can't. It can't really work because, you know, they show, like, Hurley sees Charlie and he sees Ana Lucia and so on, and then, you know, we see them in the Flash Sideways, and there's really no acknowledgement that they were doing stuff as ghosts as well, you know. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, Ana Lucia didn't even remember, you know, she didn't remember them at all, even though she's talking to Hurley, you know, in season 5. So, like, it would have been cooler to me, especially because, like, you know, the ghosts and their motivations was one of the things that I got interested in or, you know, bought into as a thing that mattered. It would have been nice if they actually were able to tie that in, since the ending does totally depend on the afterlife.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Well, I think it's a little disappointing that apparently not everyone's purgatory world or whatever pre-afterlife reality is dependent on the island. You know, it's like technically it seems like Ana Lucia should have ended up with that group, not just because she wasn't a part of the group, but because she went through the first 48 days with Bernard.
Yeah.
You know, that's binding them just like any of the other Losties are being bound together.
Libby too.
You know, Libby too, yeah. So it's like they really should all go together.
Yeah.
You know, but but it's like that saying, okay, well, they're not all going together, which means Ana Lucia's big stuff, either she hasn't dealt with it like Ben, or, you know, the traumatic events in her life that binds her to people or whatever is somebody else. It's some other group of people.
Right.
I don't know. Her mom, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, we get to relive. We get to have a great slow build up back to all of that stuff at the end of, you know, at the end of Lost.
Yeah. It's just, I guess it's frustrating because I feel like the raw materials are there to tie it all up and make it work. And, you know, maybe I don't love it, but at least it feels like some kind of coherent organization of all the shit they threw at us, you know. But I just feel like they didn't do that. They just kind of left everything lying around.
It's like a kid handing in an art project and it's a piece of paper with macaroni on it. But
yeah.
He didn't bother to glue the macaroni on the paper.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't bother to make a design. He says, "Here's a piece of paper with macaroni. Here's my art." You know, and it's like, well, if you would have just like did this connective thing, this would pass.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I just made that analogy up, so I hope it works.
Yeah, I think it does. Like, I wouldn't necessarily love it, but at least it would kind of make sense. At least I could say, oh, that's what they were going for. But the way they left it, you know, I'm just as confused as ever about, you know. And really, honestly, I blame Lost. Like, if I see a ghost on any show now, I get frustrated.
You have to ask yourself questions.
Yeah. Yeah, questions I never cared about. I mean, ghosts have been appearing in stories for a long time.
For like 5 or 6 years now.
And it never bothered me what their motivations were or what it meant that they were there. But
even in Hamlet, right?
Even in Hamlet.
I don't care what his dad wants.
No, it doesn't matter. Like, it's, you know, he's just there because you need someone. You know, he's playing more or less the same role that, you know, Man in Black and Jacob's mother plays in Across the Sea. He's just there to tell information that, you know, is not going to be found out any other way.
Yeah.
You know, and the main character needs to find out that information to make the plot work. You know, but like in terms of thinking, what are his motivations? Who is he? What is he trying to do? It doesn't matter at all. It's totally irrelevant.
Yeah.
You know, and the full ramifications.
But that's Shakespeare.
Yeah, exactly. It is. You're right, and that's fine. You know, but I guess, again, going back to Lost being a mystery show, I just assume that if they're going to throw in a crazy concept like that, it's going to be part of the mystery that they're gonna answer at some point.
Wait, well, a crazy concept like what? The Flash Sideways?
No, the ghost appearing and having an agenda.
They did answer it. What did Michael say? That's all you get.
That's what the whispers are. That's not explaining.
That's right. That's what the whispers are.
Yeah. Yeah, which is a whole separate problem that's related, but not the same as what I'm referring to. You know, because you have, like, you know, things like Charlie appearing to Hurley and saying, you got to go back to the island, and then you got, you know, stuff like, even what Michael does before he says that what the whispers are, like, he's, you know, telling them not to blow up the plane, and then he's leading them to the Man in Black for whatever reason. And then, you know, like Isabella saying, you got to stop him or we all go to hell, you know. Like, where do they even get these ideas, you know?
That's Carlton and Damon.
Yeah. Like, it just, they know stuff all of a sudden.
All of a sudden she knows stuff. How come you didn't know not to get killed by, you know, by Mother? Jeez.
Yeah, and I'm just left, like, you know, questioning what they're trying to accomplish.
Pushing the story forward.
Yeah, and I think in the end that's it.
I have external answers. I don't have any internal answers.
Yeah, well, I feel like that is the answer, but it's just, you know, now when a ghost pops up, I'm like, don't even think about it. Don't even try to make that a part of the story that they appear there. It's just a contrivance that they need for whatever they're trying to do right now. You know, and it's never going to be a thing that you know, this explains all the ghosts and why they do what they do.
I think the answers were in hieroglyphs somewhere in the temple, but we never got to read them all.
Oh God, yeah, no, oh man.
Well, that was a nice segue.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
it's really obviously easy to get sort of go in circles with this stuff.
Yeah. It is. It is. I mean, you can't get anywhere because they don't give a conclusion.
Yeah.
You know, and didn't feel the need to, and it's just, I don't know. It just wasn't satisfying to me. But, you know, to be fair, like, I mean, it was never, like, promised, like, that was going to matter. I just, I chose to invest in that as something. You know, other people invested in Dharma more than I did, and they, you know, I'm sure they were disappointed as well.
Mm-hmm. Hey, it's equal opportunity disappointment on Lost. You know, no matter what you invest in, rest assured you're going to be disappointed. But just, you know, it matters what you invest in.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, I think it's just my personal taste. Like, I think you know, I mean, I like sci-fi. It's not as though I'm not a fan, but, you know, I've always been more drawn to the, like, weirder supernatural stuff. So I sort of, I went all in on you know, the others and the cabin and the ghosts and the smoke monster. I got my disappointment, and the people who went all in on Dharma and science and Hanzo and, you know, electromagnetism, they got their disappointment too.
Yeah.
It was it totally evened out.
What did I go in on?
I don't know. What did you go in on?
I don't feel like either of those two, but I mean, I don't know. I was in on everything. I don't know. What was I in on? What are the other options? What can I pick here? What are the big things?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what were the big mysteries that you were the most interested in?
Well, definitely the island stuff. I mean, definitely the supernatural island stuff. What's Smokey? What's, you know, Locke and his journey stuff. I guess I cared about Dharma. Maybe. I feel like I mean, I must have, right?
You must have. I mean, I did too. It's not as I didn't care about Dharma. It's just that, you know, for me, I was always more interested in the less sciencey stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I guess maybe I would be more into the Dharma. I mean, I would say I was more into the Dharma stuff.
Yeah.
Trying to, in terms of hoping that would be the answer to the questions.
I think typically the fans of Lost divide up into those two camps.
Yeah.
And it, you know, I think they delivered on each one equally.
Mm-hmm.
Although the final season is definitely more on the supernatural stuff. Yeah. Whereas I guess season 5 is the season for the science people.
Mm-hmm.
That's the closest thing they get to.
And it makes sense because 5 is the most sciencey number.
Yes, exactly. I don't know what that means, but I agree.
It's called math.
It's called math.
Check it out.
I've heard of it.
All right, you want to jump into the episode?
Yes. Let's watch an episode. What are we watching? Hearts and Minds, right?
I hope not. No, just kidding. Yeah, Hearts and Minds. Hope there's a lot of walking in the jungle.
I'm sure there will be.
It better be. All right. Everybody ready with their players? We'll do the 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go. People sound lost.
All right. I guess we need to know stuff this time. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they're showing this.
Until later, when I'm standing over something interesting. Shannon knows a lot for sitting around all day. It's that crazy guy.
This makes it seem like he's lying. But
Yeah,
he's really
like
not.
it's like he's trying to like prove his point. Like, yeah, right. You were working at a box company.
Yeah. That's weird. They did not end with them finding the hatch.
Mm-hmm.
They ended with Locke predicting the rain. It's weird.
Yikes. Boone's giving him the crazy eye.
He is.
That British wit.
I know. It never leaves him.
He says that like, you know, I don't know. That was a weird line to say. Like, how many mysterious forces are they thinking of going on the island at this point? Like,
pretty much
like,
one,
like
I'd say.
we're so inundated with mysterious forces. Like, really, Saeed? King just said everybody was eating up a storm last episode.
Yeah,
I guess everybody ate up the food. Or did they leave the food behind like, when they moved? Shannon, my sister? In danger?
Well, that was quick.
Mm-hmm. I think when you're trying to look tough in front of a soldier, you don't want anybody to shout Boone, especially if it's your name. No offense to any Boone. Just, you know.
It was
like,
a strange
like if his name was Hercules, it would have been a little bit more better, you'd know. Like, Zeus, we need you. But when you got Locke shouting Boone, like, it's not really helping.
Yeah.
Not according to Hurley. Now, who's telling the truth here?
Yeah,
Is there
I
a
know.
food problem or not? Jeez.
I
Okay,
don't know. Maybe we'll
this.
find out.
This is the first time we've seen the whole door.
Yeah, it is.
I'm thinking trebuchet.
Me too. I don't know if that's this episode, though.
Oh no, we got plenty of time before we get to that.
Oh, okay.
He's got to you know, hack at it other ways, I think, first before he realizes.
I'm thinking like there's a front door nearby. They could just find that.
Close. Totally
Save everyone
close.
so much trouble.
But why would there be a front door nearby and a hatch so close, an exit so close? You know.
Yeah.
Like if you're in his situation, common sense wouldn't tell you to look for a door.
Oh yeah, of course not. No, that should be the only way in, really.
Yeah, totally. If you pay me money, then I become your doctor.
Yeah, I don't know if that really applies.
Son.
Wow.
I bet money it was Son. She motioned to him, "That's gonna eat this,"
That does sound like Son.
He's talking about 20 episodes ago.
Yeah. He is.
These are for eating. These are my eating leaves.
Wow. I can't believe that's a subplot.
Mhm.
Harley's got digestion problems.
Ha! Yeah. That doesn't really rank very high.
Okay, what are you up to?
Who are you deceiving now, Kate? What are you telling these plants?
Nothing but lies, I'm sure.
I'm going to throw a rock at you.
I can triangulate your noise.
You're my rock throwing distance. If it was, would you tell me? No.
We just had a whole episode where you're keeping a secret, so...
I killed doctors with these seeds. You want to see?
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm. This is it.
Wow, how did she explain her garden? I guess she just pointed to it.
Yeah, you think it's pretty explanatory.
Oh, she's about to say.
Flattery translates any language.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, thank you.
Locke said there was plenty.
Locke says there's plenty of other stuff to eat besides boar.
So I think Locke is the one who's wrong.
Yeah, he is. We should just knock louder.
Yeah, there's a guy down there.
Mm-hmm. That's a clear sign he didn't have any understanding of the divinity. He was beating him.
I just made that up.
Alternative translation is, I'm crazy. It's the archaic.
It's weird that he's comparing them to Michelangelo.
Mm-hmm. He's comparing himself to Michelangelo.
Yeah, okay.
Let's
try to be generous
here. He's also making a statement about his father too.
Yeah.
That we don't really know about.
It's weird that he parallels them opening this hatch that they found with Michelangelo carving the statue of David. I just feel like those aren't that similar.
Yeah, it makes a point about it being this grand thing. He's got to figure out how to turn something or simple into the end that it's going to be extraordinary.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very weird analogy, but it's saying something specific. Hmm.
I don't speak English yet.
I speak spear in my face. Water. The ocean, Hurley.
It's really not that hard.
We'll never know.
We will never know. It's a mystery.
I don't know why he won't just get a boar one day, and then just tell him it's hard to find one every 2 days.
Yeah.
None that can be measured on standardized tests.
Yeah, I think Locke's done with boar.
Mhm.
He was the boar guy for the first 10 episodes.
He found something better than the boar.
Yeah.
Those two whole things.
The classic
Wow.
head bonk.
Boop. It's the human off switch. Oh, I forgot. I remember what happens in this episode.
Yeah.
Just remembered something exciting. Why did he tie him up like that?
Yeah,
it makes him look like a boar. Like he hogtied him. Like
yeah.
he's so helpless, in that position.
Yeah.
You never see that. Like when people get tied, it's like their hands are in the front, hands are in the back.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really awkward.
Mhm. I forgot about this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, Locke? You know how to make a medicinal, balm
Yep.
out of random island plants that you've never really come in contact with before.
Yeah.
You may have read it in a book, but really, I don't remember you. Ugh, yikes.
Yeah. He knows a little more right now than he does later.
I just feel like what he made is just plant goop, and it has no effect on anything.
Yeah, you could take it that
he
way.
He just feels like, a pinch of this, a pinch of that.
I feel like this goes along with the previously on Lost thing. I'm a collections manager at a box company. Yeah, right. Locke's, he's got all these extra skills that, we'll learn later why he knows all this stuff.
Yeah. That's a great cut.
Oh, yeah.
Help! I can't help you.
I think this is a guy that Perry said had a really bad Australian accent.
Oh, that guy looks familiar for some reason.
Oh, it's a crossover.
Whoa, who's that guy? You want to get married? Can I bribe you with a wedding? Yes. Oh, he's supposed to be Australian?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well this is no, that's not Australian at all. I can deduce that. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I was listening and I'm like, no, wait, Australian really? That's classic British.
It's totally British.
And that's back when the dollar was good.
Oh, yeah. I wonder if that's more or less than Australian dollars.
I think back then it might have been higher, but now it might be lower.
Oh, okay. Wow.
That's what she did her tree climbing in Bali.
Oh, okay.
Uh-oh.
Huh?
What? No.
This isn't my guilty face.
This is my nothing is wrong face.
I don't think most people would mind.
Mhm. There's one in particular.
There's one that might have a problem.
Mhm. Don't worry, I will be forgiven in the afterlife.
Indeed.
When nothing matters anymore because you're dead. It's great.
I almost feel like he's faking it.
You what?
I almost feel like he's faking it.
Well, technically he is. We call it acting.
Good point. Good point.
You know, they had a whole thing about that on an episode of Friends, and I've always thought that that's where Hurley got that from. He saw it in an episode of Friends.
That seems like something Hurley would do. Oh, he's still got the handcuff.
Mhm. That was it was a stalemate.
It was.
Pee on me, no.
No.
All right then. I'm not gonna grab you and pull it out for you. Wow, we're gonna see a repeat of this scene.
Mhm.
And one of these people will be a smoke monster.
It's true.
And one will be both be dead. So both of these. Oh God!
Wow.
I can't believe it. It'll be them, but they'll be dead, and one will be a different person. That's where the show goes from here. Spoiler alert.
Why are you telling me this?
Usually when you have a line like that, you continue talking because you're going to make a point. But he just stops on I guess he kind of says that's all he was interested in, or something. I guess that's the point. Like, he just was a Weeblo, and he didn't do a lot else. Like, he just runs into a dead end there.
He did. He had nowhere to go. He gives him the compass. I guess that's it. Yeah, that's a weird scene. I don't know what they get out of that.
To give Sayid a compass.
Yeah, besides that.
And, a little I think this might give a sense of a little bit about Locke's jungle camping tracking skills.
Yeah.
To the degree that a Weeblo would know some stuff.
Yeah, you're probably right. That's the theory we should have at this point.
Like, I don't know why they didn't make Locke an Eagle Scout. Like when Richard comes to see him.
Oh yeah.
He's like, no, I don't really care about the science stuff. I'm an Eagle Scout or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that would have made sense actually.
Mhm.
It seems like his character would have wanted to do that.
Yeah, totally. It would have been just continue on that whole path. I mean, that totally fits in.
Yeah.
His characters. That knife is not going to kill a T-Rex. Or a train, whatever's coming your way.
That is a train noise.
Mhm.
Oh, that's right. It can't get him in the trees.
Yeah, because he only blows up trees. That was a crazy shot.
That was a crazy shot.
Little shadow of Smokey.
Yeah.
Like, anytime people, he doesn't kill people who are in these trees, I just have to believe he just chooses not to.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it anymore.
You made it to the tree. Good for you.
No. Or all he wants to do is scan them and he's done or something.
Oh, yeah.
But it's interesting that they didn't really do that flashing lights thing. Well, he didn't scan them, but I guess now he's just banging.
He's going to bang against the tree.
Wrong. I'm curious why Saeed's compass didn't verify the results.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Because he's using deductive logic here, as he should, to figure out what's going on. Okay, the compass is at fault, but he's busy making one. He should verify. Okay, well, let's see what my compass says, and it should be the same, unless
I agree.
There's just an effect on compasses, or that one is literally defective.
I was surprised about that because I thought the conclusion would be there's something strange on this island involving
magnetism. But no, he's being very pragmatic about his conclusions.
Yeah. Oh, there's something wrong with the compass.
Yeah.
And Locke gave it to me.
Yeah, he makes it a sinister thing. Okay, he rigged this thing so I would have trouble, getting tracking or whatever.
He's trying to throw us off. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What is she talking about? Does she think that was Locke chasing them?
No, I guess she's saying Locke tied her up to that. Somebody tied her to that
tie
tree.
her up. Okay, that's right. So he wasn't supposed to have done that.
Yeah. She's pulling the Kate. She's behind it all.
Oh, he's pulling a Kate.
No, she's pulling the Kate.
Oh, she's pulling a Kate. Okay. Oh, I forgot about that. You're right.
Well, with the bank job, I mean.
Yeah. No, I get it.
This is that bank job scene over again.
It is. She seems like the victim, but she's actually the perpetrator.
Mhm. This is their first backstory, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really the only one for Boone, I think.
Mhm.
Spoiler alert.
And also not waiting for a ship to.
Yeah, so true.
Almost like he said Sean. Yikes.
Ah, yes.
Mhm. Between you and me, here's a lie. And I'm the biggest predator of all. Jack.
Oh, no.
It's complicated number one.
Already?
I think that's the first that's complicated.
Yeah. Well.
I mean, that's not a fair question. That's so weird considering, they're just reflecting what we just saw with Sun.
Yeah.
They go, oh, well, maybe Jen speaks English too.
Mhm. That would be weird if they both separately learned English and they both didn't know about it.
Weird or in keeping with the show.
That too.
Why did he give him that?
To help with the sea urchin poison or something?
Is that, or was this digestive problem?
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
Did he just want some food? I couldn't tell. Or was that just a peace offering? Because maybe that was the thing he had decided he had turned down before, right?
Yeah.
The sea urchin.
Right.
But this is just making peace or something.
Yeah, could be. He doesn't explain
I guess
himself.
he's just gonna die of poison because Jin's not peeing on him. So.
I hope not.
I need to get out of the jungle since I was just hung there. Pretty close.
Yeah. Well, he won.
I just totally, it's, I know that they want to have that line, but really, Charlie, really? But at this point, he has no idea.
Yeah. And I feel like they want us to believe that at this point, or at least I did.
It's such an insult to Jack and all his hard work, like saving everybody, you know, for the all the time, this whole season. So
yeah, he does so much more.
There's one person who will rescue us. It's not you, Jack.
Yeah.
Speaking of worst enemies.
See, now this seems like the peace offering.
Well, this was after he ate his sea urchin. He got.
Now he's back on the good list.
He gives Hurley what he wants after he sort of made peace with his past transgression.
Yes. Okay.
My hand smells like fish. I guess that's what he was saying.
I think so.
I can't touch you because my hand smells like fish.
Pretty much. Wait till their flashback.
Yeah, the caves are just weird. You can't tell where anything is. I just don't feel like I know where they are in the cave when I see this shot.
Yeah.
Like, it just, I don't have a good picture of what the layout is. I know areas, but I don't know how they connect.
Yeah, I agree. They don't establish it, I don't think.
They never show a huge establishing shot of like a big pan of everybody in the whole area doing something.
Yeah. You just keep getting the up close things.
So I kind of forget how this ends, but I'm thinking is this Smokey? Is Kevin Smokey trying to figure out what Locke knows?
Well, I don't want to spoil it, but I think I know the answer.
Okay, I think I know it too.
We're going to forget that, though.
Mm-hmm. She should have said, like, a station. Yes, Shannon, that's what a hatch is. It's like Smokey was listening.
Yeah.
Oh, Maggie Grace, everyone. R.I.P. R.I.P. Shannon.
I don't really know how he did that. That was weird. She just kind of levitated.
He picked her up.
I guess, but
you just didn't see the top part where he was grabbing her because then they'd have to show.
Then they'd have to show him.
Yeah.
I guess so.
He didn't trust me or something like that, he said. He thought this whole ordeal tainted our future. All brothers love their sisters. Awkward.
I think they were careful to say they were not actually related so they could do this.
Oh, totally.
It's still weird, but they
Mhm.
wanted to make sure. It's not that weird.
It is.
But it's
that weird. It's not weirder than that, but I think it's that weird.
Okay.
My opinion.
I don't know what that means, but I agree. Happens a lot.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, this is that shot.
Oh, yeah, the great dark shot.
Yeah.
Boom. So, was that like Shannon's thank you to him for getting that guy out of her life? Like, I'll just give Boone, like, you know, she knows she screwed him over, so she's like, okay, I'll give him what he's been wanting. And then we can just go back to normal. Like, she felt like she owed him something, maybe. I'm just trying to figure out what her motivation was in that scene.
Yeah. I mean, they don't really tell you, but that makes sense.
Well, too bad she's dead now.
She had to get drunk first, though.
Yeah. I guess you think she was drunk when she called him that night?
Yeah. Wow, I don't know what the smug monster did.
Like angry against a tree.
It looks like he scratched her, like he has giant claws or something.
Well, he is a T-Rex. Slash steam train.
That really should be her death. Uh-oh.
Hello, Locke. 2 fires, 2 men. Only one will leave. Like, that move, is that Locke just being, like, lucky? You know? Or is that Locke being a great, like, tactical guy who can, like, defend himself?
I feel like it's a little bit of luck.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a knife. Locke is susceptible to being stabbed. What?
He's flooding it up with Saeed over there. Smiling and winking. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Now, see, this is weird. I don't know what's going on here. Because Locke is saying the stuff he put in his head made him have a hallucination.
Yeah.
And he hallucinated being chased by the smoke monster.
That's correct.
And it killing Shannon.
Yes.
Hmm. What if Locke didn't do anything to him, and that was Smokey, both pretending to be Shannon and chasing them?
Ultimate conspiracy.
And torturing him. Or you have to believe that Locke just knows how to make these island hallucinatory concoctions.
I mean, Locke seems to totally know what's going on.
Mhm.
You know, he's like, oh, I gave you that experience.
Yeah, but what's weird is, like, we've never seen him give himself that experience.
That's true.
It's not like he did that to himself and then he saw Smokey or he had some big thing. It's like, we only have his word that it did what he wanted him to do. And since he's nobody, he's a nothing. He's he's a man with no past. It just seems like that should not have really been him. That's I don't know. Wow.
Yeah. I feel like the impetus for it was Boone wanted to tell Shannon about the hatch.
Mm-hmm.
And so then Locke comes to realize that Boone is too attached to Shannon or has some issues with her that he needs to deal with, and his method for doing that is giving them this hallucinatory experience where he thinks she dies and then he feels relieved, and that allows him to somehow let go of his, attachment to her or something so that he can focus on, so they can focus on opening the hatch. I feel like that's what they're trying to do with that.
Yeah. It's weird that, it's weird that it worked out that way. That's how they wrote it.
Yeah.
That he did have an hallucinatory experience about something else,
Yeah, I feel like it kind of sells the hallucination because it's kind of crazy that he hallucinates the smoke monster attacking.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I even knowing the answer, I kind of find that crazy. Like, he had to make up the way the smoke monster is behaving there.
Yeah, totally. And he was right about everything.
Yeah. Yeah, and he has had no direct experience with the smoke monster. So that makes it kind of strange. So I feel like, if you wanted, you could certainly have that theory that, the smoke monster took advantage of Boone's situation to, get information from him.
He did everything Smokey does.
Yeah.
He scared him with the noise at first, lured him into the jungle, then then Shannon is there. That could be him,
Yeah.
And totally, and her questions were just exactly what Man in Black would want to know. It's like, what is Locke up to? What is he doing? Why doesn't he want you telling me? Like, that's exactly what Man in Black would be saying if that was him.
Yeah.
Versus Shannon. Shannon wouldn't care that much, I don't think. I don't know, but
they did set up her caring somewhat. That was the impetus for Boone wanting to tell her. But I agree that she was much more like interrogating him than she actually would.
Yeah.
But it was part of the hallucination, so I don't know what we're supposed to think of it. I will say that in general, like, this does make Locke look kind of crazy. And like a loose cannon and like someone I don't really trust. It's really weird because that is not the perspective I had on him when I originally watched this.
Well, Charlie just said he's the most trustworthy person on the island.
Yeah, I believed him the first time through. But this time I'm like, Locke is scary. Locke is dangerous. Like,
he's just trying stuff and he's getting lucky that it's working.
Yeah. Exactly. He doesn't have a special ability. He's like you said, he's just doing things that sometimes are working out. But very easily, like, Boone's like charging at him with a knife. Like he's putting Boone in a state where he could definitely do something, really bad.
Yeah. What if Boone had hallucinated that Saeed killed Shannon?
Exactly.
And he goes and starts attacking Saeed.
Yeah, like that is totally plausible.
Mm-hmm.
Locke didn't even know. He's just like, oh, is that what it meant? He doesn't know what he's going to see.
And he left him out there. What if it didn't make him do anything? And Boone is stuck out there, can't get the knife, and he's getting attacked by Smokey or animals or a boar or because he's helpless. And he left him out there.
Yeah, Locke is seemingly just sitting around. Like they repeatedly show him just sitting around, seemingly content.
Like he forgot. Oh, what? I left the oven on? Oh no, that's Boone tied in the jungle.
Yeah, I mean, knocks him out, ties him up, leaves him out there, and mixes up this paste that who knows? He doesn't even know exactly what it's going to do, and then just assumes it's going to work out somehow. That is not a guy that I trust to save us all.
Yeah, you better hope he doesn't have some sort of allergic reaction to whatever you're giving him.
Yeah.
Any of those plant things could have a weird reaction. That's just he's just doing But it all works when you don't know what's going on. So
it's true. You feel like Locke is in tune with something, and he really knew what was going to happen with Boone, and so it's okay that he did that, because it worked out for the best in the end. And Charlie thinks he can save us all. Like I feel like the show wants us to believe that at this point.
Yeah.
We should follow Locke. We should, go along.
Now,
he's going to be the key to unlocking this place.
When Boone is talking to Locke and Locke says, "Is that what it made you see?" I almost wonder if he's trying to talk about the smoke monster. Like if he's saying if that's it he's talking about.
Well, since Boone immediately says that paste.
He cuts to the paste stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and he doesn't say no, not the paste, something else. He doesn't contradict it. Like I feel like. I feel like it's pretty clear that that's what they want us to think, but
because the alternative theory would line up like this: that basically the experience that he wanted to give him, he left him out in the jungle where he knew Smokey might be. He wanted him to see the smoke monster,
just like he did.
And to see if he saw the light, see if he saw whatever, to see if you can look at it as the sort of surface of he gave him this hallucinatory medicine, which made him go on this journey to realize he doesn't need Shannon anymore, and now he can help Locke on his journey. Or you can look at it as Locke testing Boone to see if he's supposed to be on, sort of the same goal, see if he's supposed to be on the same path.
Yeah.
If Boone sees something beautiful when he sees Smokey, then I'll know he's supposed to be working with me doing this.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And if he doesn't, and if he doesn't, then I'll know whatever. And then he goes, "Oh, it showed you this thing about your sister? Okay, well, because there's not a lot of evidence to say that Locke knew that was his main hang-up. He was wondering why he wanted to tell Shannon, but I don't know. It's you could take it either way, I guess, but I like the idea of Locke trying to make him see the smoke monster.
I do too. I feel like that would make more sense with the show as a whole, because to me it's I'm kind of disappointed that we have a smoke monster encounter that is technically a hallucination and doesn't actually count.
Yeah.
I like the idea that he does have that weird positive impression of the smoke monster, I almost feel like Christian Shepard, he didn't even need to be Christian Shepard. Like, he could have admitted he was the smoke monster and Locke wouldn't necessarily have minded. What
do you mean?
I mean, Locke doesn't,
that wouldn't have made him stop taking orders from him.
Yeah. Yeah, like he didn't need to pretend that he wasn't that, But of course Locke didn't really know what was going on, and he's telling him he's giving orders from Jacob and stuff. But I like that version. I just I feel like they definitely point you towards it's it's a hallucination, and you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is, definitely at this point, they can't really say it's the other answer to us because it's, you know, we're basing it on other stuff we've seen him do, you know, seen Smokey do later, you know, with people. So
yeah,
but
that's true.
It fits what Smokey does, and it makes sense with him trying to figure out Locke.
Well, yeah, I like that too because it makes him present in the plot.
Yeah.
In some way, where it kind of feels like he doesn't do anything for 90% of the show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which is weird for someone who's, you know, apparently constantly, you know, formulating this crazy loophole plan.
Yeah.
For centuries.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of I like that hallucination being Smokey because it makes it, you know, with Shannon being Man in Black, like interrogating him, trying to figure out like what Locke is up to. It makes sense because Locke is sort of, you know, he's on his path right now. He's sort of really honed into believing he's got something figured out.
Right.
You know, and that's the key to the Man in Black, you know, using Locke. Is,
right.
Locke's faith in that.
That's true. That's what he wants. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, they do show Locke later, you know, during the infamous post-Hatch implosion, I can't speak period.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
You know, he once again, like, mixes up a batch of stuff, and and that time he eats it and, you know, goes into the sweat lodge and talks to Boone there, who actually, in that case, I think Boone actually is the Man in Black, you know, talking to Locke. I don't really believe that it's the ghost of Boone there. So, you know, that suggests that the hallucination, you know, there can be hallucination involved and Man in Black can be involved. You know, Man in Black might even, I mean, there's other stuff like Locke's dreams later, like, you know, the dream about the plane that leads them to it originally with, you know, Teresa falls up the stairs and,
oh, geez, yeah.
And Echo's dream with Yemi in it, and then Locke's dream with Horace that leads them to the cabin where Man in Black is definitely waiting. I mean, I feel like those actually might be coming from Man in Black. Like he might actually have sent those. You know, he might have some way. I mean, it's a little crazy because they don't really ever specifically say he can influence your dreams. But you know, at the very least, you know, with Yemi, they directly show him as Yemi for real, acting the same way. You know. And then in the case of the cabin, you know, who else did the dream come from? It led him straight to Man in Black.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, who else is conspiring with the Man in Black to help with his plan? Like it doesn't make sense that it's anything else that's sending that. You know. So I guess what I'm getting at is it could still be a hallucination and the Man in Black's involved. You know.
Yeah, totally.
So it's not even like him as Shannon, but him sending the entire experience.
Well, what's weird is, like, if he's hallucinating, I mean, obviously you can hallucinate and sort of act out things, but it seems like if he's, you know, he should have woke up from the hallucination still tied up.
Right. There was no transition.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I mean, they do the reveal, but then that makes it unclear of how he became untied. So it is sort of like he got up and
he just ran around the jungle, yelling at different places and hiding in a tree for a little bit, and then running and then hiding, and nothing else was going on. Like, I feel like he could easily go back to that area and see if there's any uprooted trees and see if there's the damage that he remembers happening in that area, and like prove if he was hallucinating or not.
Yeah.
But they're not going to do that.
Oh, and you know, the Shannon thing is pretty similar to what he does with Richard and Isabella, that whole thing.
Totally.
Where he has her come in and pretends to, like, you know, she goes outside and pretends like he's attacking her. And it's more or less exactly the same thing. So
yeah, it fits.
I think except for the sort of direct dialogue at the end, I mean I think everything about it pretty much fits into that story.
Yeah. Well, Locke never says yes. It's the pace I'm talking about.
He just doesn't say no, it's not.
He just doesn't say no, it's not. But you can look at it as he's talking about Smokey, and he's talking about, Smokey making him see something.
Yeah, and on this show, it could be that the answer was the pace then, but now the answer, just like with the Claire reveal about the psychic, when she's talking about, he knew the plane was going to crash, and that's why he put me on there. That feels like a real reveal at the time, and I think it is, but in the long run, it's not. In the long run, you didn't know.
And I think I think that's definitely probably true, and I think it can be definitely probably at the same time. And
I think so. A lot of things are with Lost.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense.
Yeah. So I could throw that out there as it just being something that the interpretation of it kind of changes as they flesh the story out, and in the end it kind of makes more sense.
And they could even be wanting to cover it up at this point. Just everybody keeps talking about the pace. But it's really Smokey doing that.
Right, because you don't have to wonder about it anymore.
Yeah,
you get your answer.
At this point, they don't want to. They're not getting into that. But he does that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
really.
I mean, if you know the smoke monster's interrogating people, I think that's already telling you more about the smoke monster.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to have to, and especially since he wasn't acting like Christian at the beginning of the season. Just sort of zombie-like.
Yeah.
Or like Yemi, he was acting like Shannon. If that in that hallucination, if that was him, then it's like you don't want the audience thinking anybody could just be Smoke at any given time.
Yeah. That's
so
true.
Yeah, I don't think I could see them wanting to bury it and just saying it's the pace, but really Locke wanted him to see the smoke monster and see what happens.
Yeah.
Because it's weird to show. It's actually kind of weird to make. If they want to be consistent, then they should say Locke always knows what he's doing, right? And so it's weird for them to say, he's this shaman who sort of always knows what to do and everything works out. But in this case, he just got lucky that it showed Boone Boone had this experience. It should have been like Locke knew it was going to work.
Right.
But not a bad episode. It's hearts and minds, and
Yeah, in the years since I originally saw this episode, I've come to realize that hearts and minds is actually a phrase that people use, and it's usually in the context of some kind of political situation of winning hearts and minds. Like that's a thing, and I honestly don't know what relevance that has to this episode. Like I feel like that kind of title would apply more to, maybe the situation where they split up in season 4, and one of them, goes to the beach to get rescued, and the other one goes to the barracks to stay away from the freighter people. The two sides and wanting to win over people to one or the other. Like,
well, maybe they're talking about Locke winning over Boone, and then maybe that something like that. Like he's winning Boone's heart and mind.
Yeah.
And something with Boone and Shannon, like their hearts and minds are all sort of I don't know how specific they're trying to get with that.
Yeah. I feel like Hearts and Minds is a title for a situation where you have more people involved. It's like I think of it as more winning over the masses than just like one person. So it's I don't really understand it. Maybe I'm
I think that's
missing
sort
something.
of double meaning is they're sort of using a phrase that's out there, but they have their specific meaning with what's in the episode.
Yeah. I guess so. Because I guess you could say the same thing for...
Par Avion isn't about sending mail, like air mail or whatever that is, like it's...
Fair enough.
They just pull something out of the zeitgeist and attach it to whatever they're sort of dealing with.
No, you're right.
Sometimes it's more specific than others.
You could say the same thing about whatever the case may be, like that phrase doesn't really apply to the episode. It's really just the pun part that matters. Or like Some Like It Hoth or something,
Exactly.
Sort of like, what? All that matters is the pun. It's not really, the title's not really very relevant. So yeah, I guess that's what's going on there. It's, it's weird because it's the only, it's the only Boone story we ever get, and I guess it basically tells us how they ended up on the plane. And where they were, in terms of their relationship when they crashed. So, that sort of explains why they've been behaving the way they have. Yeah. And, that's all they ever really tell us about them. And I don't have, Boone and Shannon are, they're okay with me. I don't particularly like them as characters. I don't dislike them. They do their job. They're fine. But I really feel like they don't earn their place in the end of the entire show, Like this time that we spend with them.
I mean, Boone has a pretty drastic impact on some of the events that's going on, especially in Shannon Locke. But Shannon, I mean, the best she has is, her death affecting Sayid.
Yeah.
I think they both kind of they kind of didn't get as much time as a lot of other people did to really make their mark, but nevertheless they didn't really make a big mark. So
yeah, and it's just like if you're gonna throw Michael out, it just when you're gonna exclude anybody really, but like it just bugs me to throw them in as though they've been part of this journey, where they really weren't. I mean, they're very, very temporary characters.
Well, look at Shannon just doing nothing this whole time on the beach for the most part,
Yeah.
Is she really bonding with this core group of people,
Yeah, no, seriously. Yeah, she doesn't. I mean, her only bonding is with Sayid.
Mhm.
And I don't think that ever changes either. I mean, because I think, even up to her death, she's still pretty much just, keeping to herself except for Sayid.
Yeah.
So it's sort of, I'm not prepared to buy that, that she's a part of that group. And Boone, Boone definitely was a significant character for Locke, and his death was a big deal for Jack and some of the other characters, but still, I still feel like he didn't really connect with most of the characters either.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he has this very limited, specific experience with Locke and the Hatch and stuff over like the course of maybe a week and a half, something like that. That I don't know. To me, that just doesn't really stack up with the journey of, say, Jack and Kate over the whole series.
Yeah.
Just I don't know.
Well, who got to go that had the next least presence and impact?
After them,
Claire,
maybe,
or
she's there though. She's there enough.
Yeah, no, she's there. I'm just trying to think who else is in that range.
I would put Libby in there.
Okay, Libby. Yeah.
I'm not really buying Libby being there.
But nobody. So Libby's probably under them, I'd say.
Yeah, Libby's actually under them. I agree.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Libby didn't even get a backstory.
Yeah. And I mean, what's her name? Penny was there, right?
Penny was there.
Did they get to go?
Yeah, she got to go. It would have been weird to not have her there with Desmond.
Desmond did so much work. I think he put in a lot of brownie points for the both of them, I think.
Yeah, she's his plus one, basically.
Yeah, he earned 2 seats.
Yeah.
In the afterlife.
And, I would have found it totally ridiculous if Penny weren't there with Desmond. Like,
yeah.
That would have been almost as ridiculous as Nadia not being there with Saeed.
Yep.
Which did happen.
Yeah.
But,
I think it should have been Boone and Shannon together in the afterlife, and maybe I mean not together as a couple, but maybe they didn't know how to show that.
Yeah.
Without needing to explain that they are platonically okay with each other for eternity. Like, and so they're just like, put her with let's keep her with Saeed. Like, I don't know. It seems like the moral of the story should have been they end up a happy relationship together.
I agree.
And then Saeed and Nadia end up in a happy relationship together, and Desmond and Penny end up in a happy. All the couples. Son and Jen, and Charlie and Shannon, and Locke should have had Helen. I think that's sad Locke didn't get to have Helen, partly because I just like Katie Seagal a lot, but it's like Helen was great,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think she's significant enough to him that she should have been there. Mm-hmm. I feel like she's a notch under Nadia and Penny, but she's definitely above Libby.
Yeah. I just feel like Libby's there because Michael shot her, and it makes matters worse because Michael isn't there.
Yeah.
And it's almost like he does. Not only does he not get to go, but she gets to go because of him. It's just.
Yeah.
That's why I really honestly think that's why she's there. I mean, I don't think Hurley's love of her was that strong.
Yeah, I agree.
It wasn't like they were Penny and Desmond.
Not at all.
And they sort of knew that they were destined to be together, and they just never had the chance or something.
Yeah.
It was just like, I kind of like you. Oh, I kind of like you too. And then a tragic ending.
Yeah. Yeah, they spent a little bit of time together that they enjoyed, but that's about it. And I don't know. Again, that doesn't really line up with some of the other couples and what they went through. Mm-hmm. It just and I get, like you pointed out, like if they're gonna exclude people, it bothers me when they include things that are so frivolous.
Yeah.
Because I just think, I mean, what Michael did, I mean, all those characters, maybe none of them did anything that sort of transgressed as much as Michael, but, I mean, I think they all had, their own problems where they had to do things that they, might not normally have wanted to do.
Locke probably did worse things than Michael. I don't know. Locke killed people.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael killed 2 people. 2 main characters.
Yeah.
I think that's a bigger problem than, killing what's her name? Naomi.
Right.
About killing Naomi or anything like that. But
yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. And of course, I mean, Saeed killed people.
Ben could have gone with them. That's
he could have.
And even
just chose
Ben would have been forgiven. And Michael can't come, but Ben's gonna come.
Yeah.
He wasn't even on the plane.
Right.
With you guys,
He didn't. Yeah, he didn't bond with them at all. Like it's the opposite of bonding with them.
Yeah, he was the villain for them for all that time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he probably, bonded with Hurley after, taking care of the island and stuff.
Well, and obviously, in their defense, I guess they addressed the Michael situation in the epilogue.
Yes, they did.
You're
right.
Spoiler alert. So maybe they're like, okay, well, Michael's not going to be there, but we'll address it after the fact, after the show's over.
They did, and I appreciate it. That was probably my favorite thing about the epilogue, the fact that they took the opportunity to sort of not completely screw Michael over as a character, and Walt,
yeah.
But still, though, it bugs me that he's not in the finale. Mm-hmm. When they bring back these other very extraneous, who cares characters. Like, Michael had a pretty major journey on the show, and I just feel like he deserves more than what he got.
Yeah.
You know, it was already unsatisfying the way he dies on the freighter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's bad enough to do that, and then
the way it's unsatisfying, the way he dies in the freighter is unsatisfying. Nobody tells Walt he's dead.
Yeah.
And then it's unsatisfying. He's not in the afterlife with them. Like.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, more so than some of the characters that were there, he earned the right to be there. And yeah, I mean, everybody, you know, a lot of the characters did bad things, and you know, if that's not the time to, you know, sort of forgive and forget, I don't know when it is.
Yeah.
So that's one of the most frustrating things about it. Like they had forgiveness for things that I thought were unforgivable, and then Michael just gets damned for something that, you know, I felt like should have been not such a completely irreversible thing.
Yeah. Well, maybe he's somewhere with Ana Lucia working out some problem, because, you know, I think the Libby thing was, you know, that was an accident, but he sort of meant to kill Ana Lucia.
That's true.
So maybe he's got to go work that out with her in the purgatory world or something.
Mhm. Yeah, you know, if Michael were in the purgatory world, I would have less of a problem with it.
Mhm.
You know, because then at least, you know, the idea would be at some point, you know, he's going to get out of there. But it was specifically said, like, for him on the island, like, we're the ones who can't move on.
Yeah, and I think that's why
he
can't be there, and that's why they have to address it at the end, is because he can't. If he was there, then that means he's sort of already, you know, off the island.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I know. That's the thing. I mean, they gave us an answer with him, and so sort of like, you know, that was them doing justice to him, I guess. But
the bare minimum.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I mean, the episode was interesting. It was pretty shocking when I originally saw it. You know, the whole Boone Shannon thing, and it's interesting now, like, to, like I said earlier, just have such a different perspective on Locke. I like now I'm starting to feel more like Jack and see him as a kind of loose cannon that you know, could lead to trouble for all of them.
Yeah.
You know, and who really has no idea what he's doing.
He doesn't have the group's best interest at heart by any means. He's he's trying to do what he wants to do, and if what he wants to do is help out and get bored for everybody, that's cool. But if what he wants to do is be by himself and keep secrets, then that's what he's going to do. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel like he sort of becomes more selfish. It becomes about his own journey and fulfillment of his own destiny, you know, more so than helping the group, you know. And
the tale all this time.
And I feel like Jack, you know, more or less always cares more about helping the group and stuff than his own destiny.
Yeah. Oh, because he doesn't think he has one.
Because he doesn't think he has one.
Predetermined or anything like that. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think there's a lesson in there somewhere.
I agree. It's just weird. It's weird to have such a, you know, to be watching the same scenes, but to be seeing a different character than I thought I saw there before.
Yeah, I mean, he comes off way more jovial the first time around, less sinister, you know. Yeah.
And I guess, you know, I wanted to know things, and I really thought that he was the one that was going to lead to those answers.
That's what Charlie basically said.
Yeah. I mean, I think they deliberately led us to believe that would be true, and you know, knowing that that's not the case, knowing that he's he's the opposite of knowing answers.
The answer is there is no answer.
Yeah. Like, it kind of just makes him, like, one of the first of many people I latched onto as being the person who would lead to answers.
Mhm.
You know? Ben is probably the next one.
Oh, yeah. Then Jacob, then Man in Black.
Yep.
Mother is in there, you know.
Sure. Richard was in there.
Richard's in there. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. There's. I thought Widmore had some too. Like, there's a lot of characters that, like, you know, it really seemed like they were at some point. You know, as soon as you find out what they know, you know, that's going to be a big reveal.
Mhm.
And
you know, I was just thinking about, you know, the characters who come to the island and piddle around and tried to make sense of it and couldn't and didn't. So many people.
Yeah.
I was thinking about what is your name? I can't think of his name now. The scientist guy, Dan.
Ah, yeah.
Dan. And who, by the way, Dan and the actor who plays Bram are on this TV show with Timothy Oliphant called Justified.
Oh, yes, I've heard of it. Yeah.
They're on there this season, and they play brothers.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's really weird to see those two actors playing brothers. Yeah, it's Bram and Dan playing brothers. Yeah,
wow, that's
great.
like a flash sideways.
Yeah, no, it's totally flash sideways. Anyway, I was just thinking about, you know, all the science stuff he did, and I was thinking, like, why didn't, you know, all the stuff about the light not, what was it, the light scattering?
Light didn't scatter quite right.
Yeah, and all the tests with the rocket and all that stuff, you know, he's writing down all that stuff in his journal. I just hate that, you know, you and I guess the problem is that they're unrelated. I keep forgetting they're unrelated. The Flash side, I'm trying to tie it to the Flash Sideways, where he has this dream,
right?
And he comes up with all these math equations, but he's not a math guy,
right?
Or physics equations or whatever. But they're not. They're totally two different worlds. Like, he's dead. But I was just thinking, like, why didn't that connect? So I'm like, okay, I forgot that that's a totally different universe.
Yeah.
Because he never. My point was, he never gets anything out of all that science.
No, you're right. Yeah. He. It's weird because he. At least off screen, he spends like 3 years. You know, seemingly thinking about the science of the island, and you know, his big conclusion was people are the variables, so we can change our past if we, you know, if we disrupt the incident. So, you know, that part wasn't true. So I guess, you know, he got led up to a big theory. They tested it. It was not correct. So, you know, that's it, because he died before he ever even got to see the outcome.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, whatever his equation told him would equal changing the past was actually them going to the future. You know, and it's like he just misinterpreted the result, or his equation was just wrong either way. But yeah, it's weird that something happened. He wasn't wrong about something happening. He was just wrong about what happened. You know, what was going to happen.
Yeah,
you know, having people time travel is no small feat of physics, I would imagine.
Sure.
Or is it? I don't know.
Hard to say. I mean, all you got to do is turn that donkey wheel. You can go through time.
Yeah. Well, first you have to build the donkey wheel, right?
Okay. Well, you know, Man in Black did it. How hard can it be?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
I don't know either. He was special or something.
Yeah, he's a crazy,
I guess he knew about
weird,
science.
Sort of Roman.
Yeah. He never really acted like he knew anything like that, but I guess he did. Maybe he forgot or stopped caring. I don't know.
He found the loophole.
Yeah.
Started working on the loophole. Yeah, I mean, I think that was the idea. Was he was doing all this stuff, and he was trying to get away from Jacob, and he was hanging out with the people who came to the island and helping them, and he built the donkey wheel, and he's like doing this stuff, and then he realizes, okay, the only way I'm getting off is if I kill you, so I'm going to spend all my time working on a loophole.
Okay. Yeah. I guess that's the idea. But yeah, I feel like Dan's big conclusion was the people as variables thing. I feel like that's that was the most he came up with as far as like what they could do with the strangeness of the island.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole thing was so weird.
But the other stuff, like I feel like they never really delivered anything on, obviously on the light scattering right or on the time differential.
No, they never were like, the island is out of sync with time, or it's from a different universe, so the time goes differently, or they never really said what was up. They just said something's up.
Yeah, there's something weird.
These are the effects of that something.
With time. Yeah, the only thing they did with it was the doctor washing up dead before he died on the freighter.
Yeah, which makes no sense.
Which makes no sense, no. And we tried. I remember when we did those podcasts in season 4, we spent a lot of time. I drew diagrams trying to understand how the times could be separated and that could happen, and it just never worked. No. It never made sense. They would communicate directly in real time, and yet the events would be off. And they would even show, like, when the freighter blew up, they were just looking at it from the beach. It just blew up. There was no time difference. Like, it never really, they only used it when they wanted to. They didn't really fully deal with what that should mean.
Yeah.
And I don't even know, like, why even bother with the doctor thing? Like, I almost feel like that was a waste of time.
Yeah. I don't know. With that doctor thing, I feel like the best they could say is that the body, goes through the barrier or something as it's washing up towards the beach, and I feel like it could have maybe have wound up at any other time period or something, and it just happens to land when it lands sort of before that incident happens. You know? Like, I feel like they have to say, like, that the effect is dynamic. Otherwise, if they're trying to say there's this constant differential between the two sides of the barrier, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So maybe like if somebody else gets knocked over, they don't show up till 2 days later or something.
Oh, okay.
Or something, or just something. It's just kind of weird or random, sort of. The same way when you fly through the barrier, it messes up your, it can make you time travel if you're, Desmond.
Right.
So it's got this connection to sort of the time continuum.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is the idea. I think you're absolutely right. But I feel like all of the stuff they show happening doesn't even fit that. Like even the random theory, isn't quite supported by what they show. So I feel like they just weren't, they weren't all encompassing with it. Like they didn't totally take seriously what that would mean for everything that happens with the freighter. Not just a couple of isolated incidents.
Yeah, because at a certain point, he's talking to the doctor on the walkie while the doctor's dead on the island or something. Didn't something like that happen?
Well, what happens is who is it?
Someone at the door?
No. I'm trying to think of who it was. I remember it's Omar on the freighter is talking to someone on the island.
Wasn't it Jack?
Is
Am I
it
making
Jack?
that up?
Maybe it is Jack. It's someone, because he later he says to the doctor, this strange thing happened. Someone on the island said you washed up dead.
Mhm.
So he's the one who hears it. But I don't remember who says it. It must have been somebody on the beach, I guess.
Mhm.
They mention that his body washed up.
Okay, so that means that on the freighter, an event that happens in the future has already happened on the island. So that means that, sort of simplistically, that would mean that the island is ahead time-wise in relationship to the freighter.
Yeah, seemingly.
So that something that happens later on the freighter has already happened on the island.
Yeah.
So that means that like when he's talking to Jack or whoever he's talking to at the beach, it can seem real time, but what it means is, oh my God.
Yeah, this is what we went through.
What it means is Omar hasn't said it yet. Because if he's on the freighter telling something to Jack,
yeah,
and Jack is hearing this sort of in a later respect, from the future compared to the freighter, that's weird, because then that means he hasn't said it yet, right?
Right.
Because he's got to say it later. Oh, well, no. Well, that doesn't mean that. It depends on when he's talking to him. But, yeah, there is some weirdness.
And it depends on what you mean by when, because when you start talking about two separate times running, it's hard to say what now is.
Mm-hmm.
These discussions were had on this topic.
I believe it.
Yeah, because I think if you work out what they need to both have real-time conversations and have how do they have the conversations? Like the signal goes from the satellite phone up to the satellite, then back down to the other satellite phone, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it works. That process is not fundamentally different from the body leaving the boat and going to the beach. They should behave in more or less the same way. I mean, I guess they could say, oh, well, satellite signals are affected differently than bodies. Okay, whatever. But, they should be off in the same way, but they're not. The times that they say things on the freighter versus when they hear them on the island sync up.
Mm-hmm.
And that because of the order of events that happen. There's never a differential between the two.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's why we were saying at the time, I'm sure, it has something to do with going through the barrier.
You could have something like they get on the helicopter and go to the island, and then they're still, they could call the freighter and they'd still be there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But that doesn't happen. They're always gone when they leave.
What a weird sentence. I want to know someone who's not gone when they leave. I left and I'm still here.
I mean, they could sort of be two places at once, if that were the case.
Yeah.
And talk to themselves, like if that were really going on. But that's not the way they portrayed it at all.
I'm thinking about it, unfortunately.
Okay. Good luck.
Yeah, because if the helicopter takes off from the freighter at 3 o'clock and it heads north-northwest at 45 miles per hour.
Oh, no. I don't want to do a physics problem.
Facing a headwind that's going east-west. I'm just thinking, if the helicopter takes off from the freighter, I'll leave the math out of it, and goes to the island.
Yes.
What has happened? Because...
What did you say? What has happened?
What has happened? That's the word problem you have to answer right now. A helicopter takes off from a freighter and lands on an island. What has happened?
Wow, that sounds like a really deep riddle.
There is a barrier involved. That's the whole question. Because I'm saying that because if you just follow the logic of the Doctor showing up on the island while he's still alive on the freighter, then if the Doctor, instead of the Doctor being killed, it's the helicopter taking off.
Yeah.
Then when it's taking off, it should already be there.
Before it took off, it could already be there.
Well, yeah, depending on what the time differential is.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it should be there before it gets there. So then when it flies there through the barrier, it could potentially either see two of them or I don't know what.
At the very least, they should be able to call back to the freighter and talk to themselves before they leave on the helicopter.
Yeah, like if the Doctor was alive, he could have done that. He could have talked to himself.
Exactly. Yeah. If he could get on, if he washed up, and was still alive, he could have called on the radio and talked to himself.
Here, call me on the freighter.
Oh man. I'm on the freighter right now.
I'm on the freighter. Little lost highway there.
Oh man, that'd be really cool. Wish they did that. I really thought that Doctor was scary for some reason.
Yeah, no, he came off pretty sinister.
He did. I didn't trust him. I didn't trust him more than I didn't trust the captain.
Well, anyway, enough about that freighter stuff. We'll get there again one day.
We will. Oh, we will. It's a whole season about that.
They're here to kill us all. They're here to rescue us. A whole season of that.
Yep. The Lost loves that, I think. Like it's I feel like every season has something like that, where it's sort of it's this or that, and the whole season's about that.
And it's usually neither.
And it's usually neither, or a little of both.
Or a little of both.
It's so true. Yeah, I feel like that's what the hatch is like. What does the button do? Does it save the world, or is it just a science experiment?
It implodes, is what it does. And then it's like, oh, you don't have to answer that.
So true. So true. But I think the answer is a little of both.
Yeah, totally. Lost, a little of both.
Lost. Exactly. Yep.
Well, guys, thanks for taking a little of both of us. And,
wow. What a segue.
This isn't my first podcast.
I can tell.
We'll be back next time with everybody's favorite Walt episode special.
All right. We're going to finally find out what's up with that kid Walt.
That crazy kid.
I know there's something up with him.
Will Hurley ever get his $20,000?
I doubt it. Man, they could have put that in the epilogue.
Oh, that would have been. Oh, what? See, that's how disappointing they are.
Yeah.
They couldn't have made that one little point to make us happy.
Yeah.
Oh, they're such assholes that way.
I know.
No.
I hate them so much.
No, that would have been cool if just tying that whole loose end up with the fact that Hurley really did have a lot of money.
Yeah.
And even though he's an island protector now, it would have been cool to be like, hey, well, if you want that $20,000, I can give it to you now. But nobody would remember that. It'd be such a weird line, but it'd be nice for the people who did get it.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I feel like the hardcore fans would really appreciate that kind of thing. And, that's the kind of thing that I thought Lost was the show that would do that consistently,
Yeah.
Like do the things. And they did put some stuff, but it did feel like they never quite went the extra mile with those things.
Mm-mm.
You know, where they could, like, compared to a show like, you know, Arrested Development or something, where I feel like,
yeah,
you know, they throw in so many things for, like, you can watch it on a service level and just enjoy the show as it is, but then there's all this extra stuff if you're a long-time fan. I feel like Lost could have done something like that if they wanted.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't think they really ever did that. I don't think they really rewarded the hardcore fans as much.
Well, let's see. Arrested Development canceled. Lost got to do a full run. So
all right,
maybe there's something to be said for, you know, keeping your sort of core average audience entertained and not catering to the whims of the detailed oriented people. But no, I agree. I mean, that's why Arrested Development is great, because they have so many callbacks and so many I mean, I've seen that show 3 or 4 times all the way through, and it's just like you find new stuff and new, like, oh, that's what that joke means. Like, you've been laughing at it before, but now then you get, you know, what he's referencing or something, or what they're referencing, and it's like, oh, that's that other thing that in that other episode, you know.
Yeah, seriously, like, it's not a mystery show, but Arrested Development is as, like, detail-oriented.
Mystery show. I mean, it is. It's not a mystery show, but it proceeds like a mystery show, because there is a mystery about what did George Bluth do, and why is the family in trouble, and that the whole, you know, not to spoil the show minorly, but I mean, that's kind of the progression of, you know, you don't find out what he did for a while.
Yeah.
You know, while all the comedy is going on, that is sort of the base mystery of, like, you know, the impetus of the show is him getting in trouble with, you know, with his business, and then you really don't find out what he did till, like, season 3, I think, or at least 2.
Yeah.
In terms of the whole house schematics and all that. You know, the house stuff, but
yeah.
So it is kind of like a mystery. I mean, in terms of how they lay out the plot, you know.
I guess I say it's not a mystery show because
it's definitely not a mystery show.
I feel that the engine of the show is not mystery. You know, that's not what drives.
No, it's a comedy show. I mean, I'm not going to argue that.
It would be strange too, but you're right that there are mysteries there technically that you could ask about, and you know, and the hardcore fans probably care about, you know, and but what I was going to say is that I feel like it's as detail oriented as people wanted Lost to be. I think. Yeah. You know, one of the shows that went that extra mile. They remembered their own references, you know. Yeah,
the problem with Lost was they had as many or more, you know, details, but you know, Arrested Development tied them together and linked them, and Lost would be like, hey, there's an eye and a hat in a box in a hatch. Well, we're not going to tell you whose eye that is.
We're just never going to mention it again.
We'll show you a guy who's missing an eye. And we'll make him, you know, a sort of minor, you know, major minor character, but we're not going to tell you that's his eye.
You know, speculate that that's the guy whose eye it was, but you're not getting any confirmation from us.
Yeah, so I think that's what's weird is Lost had those details, but they didn't tie them to things. They didn't. You know, the toys, the Dharma branded toys or whatever they find in the cave when they rescue Echo from the polar bear. Like, you don't ever find out whose stuff that is.
Right.
You know, you just go, well, I guess it was just some Dharma people, and that's it. That's all you can do with it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, yeah. And I really feel like there's, you know, a significant portion of the hardcore fans of Lost that, you know, really wanted that stuff, you know. I'll admit I was one of them, you know, that really
shocker.
That really, like, what, you know, those little details, wanted them to somehow matter, even if it was just a small thing where they explain them later. You know, if there was just something in the background of one of those Dharma scenes where you could pick it out, you know, and say, oh, you know, there's those toys from the caves later. Like, that would have been cool.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
You know, I don't even need a whole backstory on them, you know, but just some acknowledgement later that, you know, we took the time to show this to you and make you wonder about it. Here's your reward. You know, most of the time it just felt like they didn't do that, you know, and it almost seems to me like they would kind of, you know, pick and choose, like things that they thought were big enough or worth answering, they would address. But little things like that.
Which valuable gems were hidden in the toilet in the Pearl Station? Well, we know the answer to that. It's Diamond.
You had to bring that up.
Yeah, no, they totally pick and choose what they decide is interesting enough to talk about or explain or go into, and it's usually not that interesting, depending on what it is. If it's a small detail, it's like, oh, it's boring.
Yeah, totally. It's like, I don't know. Like when Jack's talking to Man in Black, and he asked him, the whatever day we were here, I saw my father. Was that you? Like, he doesn't bring up other stuff. Like when Locke came to visit me, he said that my father said, "Say hello to my son."
Yeah.
Was that you?
Mm-hmm.
That's a more recent thing for him.
Yeah.
And that was played like it was a big deal for Jack. Like, he sort of breaks down when he brings that up,
Mm-hmm.
But now he's still stuck on this thing from season 1, rather than that, which was associated with his recent, like, complete breakdown.
Yeah, that's your point. It seems like they're trying to make it about, his initial experience with the island.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, it would have been cool if Christian really was trying to help Jack through all this from the beyond, but he wasn't.
No.
I mean, he was rooting for him, I guess, but he wasn't sort of around doing anything.
Secretly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it just,
and that's the other thing, too, is that's an awkward situation, maybe, for Jack to ask Locke, to ask Man in Black who looks like Locke, if it was you impersonating my father when Locke saw you, tell him to tell me that you made me say hi. Yeah, I think it's confusing to get into that territory.
I don't see what's so confusing about that.
Yeah, I don't know. It was tough to get through that explanation.
Yeah,
so
I
maybe,
see your point.
Maybe,
I had a hard time even wording how he would ask the question.
Yeah.
I got kind of tied up in, like, Locke, not you, but the real Locke, said that he saw my father, and he should say hello to my son, but was that you? Not.
Yeah, so I think it makes sense for him to go to the actual time when he encountered his father. And was like, okay, was this you? Because that'll validate. I think he's, sort of in Jack's mind, maybe that'll validate the other part of Locke saying your dad said hello, if in fact the person he saw on the island was him, because that's what Jack wants to be true, right?
Yeah.
And it is sort of true. It is the same person, but it's not his dad.
That's right. So
he's trying to say, if the person I saw on the island, was that you or is that my dad? And the rest he'll just put all under that umbrella.
Right. I almost feel like that should lead to Jack questioning whether he does have a destiny there. Like, that crazy experiments that he had there, like, he can now realize, oh, it's that was the smoke monster, like, plotting. But instead it turns into, well, all I ever wanted to do was help you. Yeah,
it turns into I showed you where the water was at the cave or something, or I showed you the caves where they had water and all that stuff,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they don't have to, it should be no surprise that he's plotting, right? Like, Jack at that point knows that he's been doing stuff, right?
Right.
Or at least he will. I mean,
Jack will now realize that this thing that seemed like a crazy mystical experience that suggested that, he had some destiny or special connection to the island, was actually just this guy who's. Yeah,
but the problem is the guy is evil incarnate, so it's going to lead him to the same conclusion, right?
Well, I guess so.
It's not like it doesn't invalidate that he has a destiny. He's got to defeat evil incarnate. So, I mean, whether or not he realizes evil incarnate was plotting back then or whatever, it's important for his character, but in terms of what he's going to choose, it's still like this big thing he's got to do. Yeah.
I guess that's true. I mean, there's still something to do, but what I'm saying is, like, well, I guess what I'm getting at is that, I'm kind of disappointed that, that Locke never realized that, all of those experiences that he had that he thought was the island, leading him to his destiny was actually the Man in Black, plotting to kill Jacob and plotting on Locke's death and all that.
I don't think Locke ever gets. I don't think he gets a full character arc. I don't think he gets a full realization of his problem and have a catharsis and like he doesn't really get that. We feel like he gets that because we see him wake up on the island after he gets killed by Ben, but that's not actually him. So we think he's a man reborn. He's got this new sense of life and purpose, but that's not really him. The real Locke never understood, like you're saying, the real Locke never understood how he was duped. He never really got over his main issues, like, at all, I don't think. So it's like I feel like Locke's point on the island should have been, his point becomes that he gets, he's this man of faith who gets duped by, because he's got this faith. But it seems like that's obviously, his problem with his father was emblematic of that too. Yeah. And so it seems like the point was he should be trying to get over that issue, that character flaw, by the time he gets to the afterlife. But he doesn't, because he gets, Ben kills him before he can sort of get to that place. Right. And but in the afterlife, he seems fine and happy with everything. Yeah. And it's kind of like, well, you didn't actually sort of go through, the major change. I mean, he was tormented, but he didn't sort of realize the error of his ways at any point. He had a lot of self-doubt, but that's not the same thing. Right. Right, exactly. Like, he didn't have that final change or realization that Jack got to have. Mm-hmm. Of, No, Jack got the journey Locke wanted. Yeah. I mean, it's really sad. That really makes me sad because, Jack got what Locke wanted. I mean, Jack got to be the one who was most important on the island. Yeah. He got to save it from the evil. Yeah. He got to have this grand destiny that he didn't even want. Yeah. I mean, it's sad. Locke is just one of the most tragic characters I've seen on TV, almost ever, probably. I mean, it's bad enough he doesn't get his own journey, but the guy who didn't believe him the whole time gets what he wants. You know what I mean? Like, that's insane. It's insane to sort of do that to a character. And not only that, he doesn't even get a full, character arc. Right. He gets to get killed by the main villain just before he realizes what's going on, and it's just like he gets dumped on the whole show almost. Especially when you realize that he's just being a loose cannon in these early days. Right. And he's not on any real path, and I think it's a pretty bold choice. I think for them to have that be the actual answer. It's like no, Locke wasn't really on a path. It was actually the bad guy on the island who sort of put him on this path. It wasn't the bad guy was making the path for him. Yeah, and it wasn't sort of a good force of the island leading him. Because the good force of the island, aka Jacob, decides to be hands off. Pretty much just ignored him. Yeah, and it's like, and I mean that totally, he didn't ignore Jack though, right? No, not at all. Yeah, you gotta love Jacob. He's an asshole that way. He is. Yeah, so I feel like I'm just kind of transferring that over. I want Jack to question his destiny because I wanted Locke to. But, I also feel like Locke didn't, there was answers, in addition to just his own destiny. I feel like he wanted to know stuff about the island that he never found out. Yeah. And that other characters did find out, who didn't even want to know. They didn't care. Some people never cared about stuff, and they found out everything. Yeah, Son's talking about how they're all candidates to replace Jacob, and it's like she could give a shit about that. Why does she need to know? Locke would have loved to know that, and he never finds out, I think, as far as I can tell. He never figures out the two main entities on the island that are controlling everything. Yeah. I mean, he sort of... So, I mean, you might as well not have played the game, by the end of the end, it's like, you didn't figure that out. You didn't really learn anything. Absolutely. It's really disappointing. Like, he knew about Jacob, and he knew about the smoke monster, but he had no idea what their relationship was. He had no idea
what their agendas were. What he didn't even know that the smoke monster was a character.
Yeah, was it like formerly a real person?
Yeah, exactly. Like that was his one question, when he has been, captured in season 4, he's like, what is the smoke monster? That was the big thing he wanted to know when he had, when he thought he had.
What does Ben say? There's many names for it. Oh, it's a secret.
Yeah.
I was hoping it's been called many things. None of which I can tell you.
Yeah, like at that point, they in season 4, they're kind of making us think that Ben has some control over it.
Yeah, it's a secret. The secret is you don't know what it is.
Yeah, he has no idea what it is. He's going to end up getting duped by the smoke monster too.
Is that the definition of a secret? Some information you don't know? I mean, because then he's being honest.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you use secret to mean something you don't know, then that's what it is. It's something that I don't know.
Now, you might have thought that meant that I knew the secret,
yeah.
but I didn't.
You might have thought I meant secret as in confidential. No. I meant secret as in information that I'm not privy to. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's and I think Ben, for all the stuff he did, he gets his comeuppance more or less.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a lot of the characters had a journey that made sense and culminated somewhere, but it's just Locke has all these questions and all this pent up desire for some kind of fulfilled destiny, and he just ends up dying a failure in a seedy motel room, murdered by the main people of the show, and it's just like wow, what a depressing...
totally shunned from all of his so-called eternal life mates,
right?
Who wouldn't go back to the island with him, wouldn't give him the time of day.
Yeah,
totally a loser. He couldn't convince a single person to come with him, and on top of that, Ben's gonna kill him.
Yeah,
Ben's gonna hang him in his own apartment, own hotel room. Yeah,
but first talking him down from killing himself, getting the information he needs from him, and then killing him. It's horrifically bad. And as great as that scene was, acting wise, between the two of them, I feel like it wasn't enough to cover, how bad that was.
Yeah.
I can't.
No, honestly, it's got to just it just has to be a contrivance for the fact that they obviously need Locke to be dead for the next season so he can come back.
Yeah.
And it's just like they got to get him killed. So Ben's gonna do it, but it's weird because he doesn't get to finish anything.
Right. Exactly, yeah. And I feel like, I don't know, I keep wanting people in the afterlife to care about things that I guess they just don't, but it's just so strange to me that Locke doesn't seem at all concerned to know those answers or find out all that stuff that he so desperately wanted to in his life. I wanted
something from Ben, in the afterlife, before when they're going in the church and Ben doesn't want to go. I want Ben to say something like, I'm sorry I, cut your journey short, Locke, or something, and Locke could say something like, I wasn't on the right path, or I don't know what it's gonna. How do you say it's okay for killing me? I don't know how you say that. But if you're in the afterlife, you can find the words, I guess. But it just seems like there could have been some acknowledgement of what. It's like they're over the events of the island, so okay, that's the writer's excuse for not having them sort of having to talk about them in the present when they're in the afterlife. God, the sentences the show makes you say.
Yeah.
And so it just seems to me like when he's talking to him, he should sort of just reflect that that he's or let's say they're not gonna be talking about in the present, so they should have some dialogue to say Locke knows that he was on the wrong journey and blah 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 blah. Some acknowledgement for Ben to say I shouldn't have killed you like that. You blah blah blah. You know what I mean? And they kind of did that with the sort of I killed you thing, but
right.
I think they could have probably worked in some dialogue to say this is what the character thinks about their whatever big problem that they had, especially when they didn't get over it on the island.
Yeah, exactly.
Because technically, I think Locke should be stuck on the island if Michael was stuck on the island.
Yeah,
he was
agree.
I guess he didn't die on the island. Maybe that's the difference. But all things being equal, he should have been stuck too.
I agree. Yeah, that would have made more sense. Obviously, God, that would be they really screw Locke over. Just let him be stuck on the island as a whisperer forever after that depressing, tragic life. Like, man, that's really bad.
Well, not that he can't get help, but
Yeah. But I agree. That would have made more sense. And, in the scene, they make it just about why Ben did it, personally. He was jealous and, I wanted what you had. And he
overreacted.
And he overreacted.
There's nothing with Jack telling Locke, like, you were right.
Yeah.
Even though that wasn't my dad who said hello, but you were right about this having a bigger meaning in our lives.
Even though actually your entire mission was spearheaded by evil incarnates, you were still right.
You were still right.
You were, yeah, we did, we were supposed to be there on the island. We did have, a task to complete, and you helped me on that journey, and
listen, if we can't get, at the end of 6 seasons, we can't get Christian Shepherd to tell his son, you have what it takes, Jack. I don't know what else we could hope for. Like, if we couldn't get that line out of them, everything else is second to that, I think. It's so sad. Yeah. Jack goes through all of this, his whole life being tormented by Christian, then all the stuff on the island, and he defeats evil incarnate, gets to the afterlife, and his dad can't even pat him on the back and say you did a good job. Like, you totally 150% validated, and obviously, it's again like they're already fine with each other. Like, they don't have any more problems anymore because they're dead.
Right. But I think that also goes to just acknowledging the stuff that happened on the island at all. Like, he actually doesn't. Like, all he talks about is, the bond that the people shared. But it's not at all about what actually happened there.
Yeah, it almost makes it seem like it didn't matter what they did. It just mattered that they did stuff.
Right.
And that shouldn't be true.
It really shouldn't. Not for Lost, at least.
Yeah, no, it shouldn't be true.
There's some shows where you get to the end and that would make sense to say. Because it has been about just a bunch of arbitrary adventures that add up to a lot of bonding.
Yeah.
But that Lost should not be that kind of show. They really, I feel like they went to the trouble to try to tell us that what they were doing was important.
Yeah. But they didn't convince us. What if who didn't do what would have happened? Go.
Oh, you want that? Well, that should be easy.
Yes.
If they,
you can fill it whatever you want there, and give me a dire consequence. Go.
Okay. Well, if they, oh God, if they don't stop the smoke monster from leaving the island, then, God help us all.
All right. Then God will help us all. That sounds like a good thing.
No, God will have to help us all because it'll be bad.
It'll be bad. Well, that'll be cool. We'll have God's help.
Okay, there you go.
It'll make it better.
Or maybe it was just in a metaphor. I don't know. But no,
yeah,
the darkness, the evil, he would escape, and
okay. As evidenced by what?
The evil would spread.
As evidenced by what?
Evidence? I mean, there's no evidence because he never escapes.
Okay. What was your assertion based on? What was that assertion based on?
This stuff people say.
So this is hearsay.
Yeah.
So we'll have the record show, Your Honor, that the that the witness on stand is admitting hearsay and anecdotal evidence to the court records.
It is all hearsay, but
right.
We have a couple of events on record that at least seem to indicate that at certain specific times, for unspecified reasons, the smoke monster could have the effect of spreading his evil onto others.
Okay, so by that logic, we should arrest people before they commit crimes if we could prove in the future they do crimes. And I think we saw a little movie called Minority Report that shows the folly of that logic. So I don't think that really makes any sense to say, well, we hear that if something bad will happen if he leaves, therefore we should act upon it. So that's all you have to submit to the court today?
Well, okay. I'll also throw in that his leaving is also connected in another unspecified way with the light source on the island going out, and I've also heard that if that light goes out, then it would be really bad because it'll go out everywhere, and there's a little bit inside of every man, and that it'd be bad if that went out.
So if the light goes out in the cave, then the light in every man goes out.
Yes,
that's true.
Someone said it was true.
Someone said it was true.
It very well might be true.
Would you like to name this source, or is this an anonymous source?
Well, I don't actually know the name of the individual.
Oh, this is okay. And have you met this individual? Is it someone who you know where they are? Can we bring them to the court to testify that something bad would happen?
Well, they've been dead for a couple thousand years, so they're not going to be available for questioning.
Let the record show that said hearsay is from a witness who's been dead for several times.
But that doesn't make them unreliable, does it?
I hope it doesn't make them more reliable.
Well, that doesn't do that either.
Their reliability is unchanged by how long they've been deceased?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess my point here, as Your Honor, my final closing statement here is that the witness and the prosecution has failed to give reasonable cause that any actual dire consequences would happen by any given action by any person on the show. What thoughts of bad consequences were just all hearsay and never actually shown to happen.
Well, but Your Honor, a lot of people said it was true, and why would they all be saying the same kinds of things if there's no grain of truth to it? I mean, where did the idea come from? Why did they all?
That's not what this court is here to decide today. It's a question for a different case.
I mean, hearsay is one thing, but when you have, independent sources corroborating the same kinds of ideas.
Corroborating the same kind of vague idea.
The same kind of vague idea. Doesn't that at least lend some weight to the possibility that there might be some truth
now,
to it?
can you discount the people who would have heard said a vague idea from the similar or connected sources?
Well, okay. I mean, I guess they're not all independent. I guess in some cases, some of them may have heard it from others saying the same thing. But hey, a ghost said it. I mean, ghosts don't lie.
Don't they?
Hurley said the ghosts are more trustworthy than people are. I mean, if you can't trust Hurley, I mean, come on.
Mhm. Is Hurley the best judge of character?
I wouldn't say he's the best, but he's, I think he's a decent judge of character.
Okay. Can I rattle off a list of people he's trusted that he shouldn't have?
You could. I mean, it's not as though he's not gullible, but, he had a lot of experience talking to ghosts. Okay, now it just sounds completely ridiculous.
Let the court acknowledge that the witness is giving testimony from a person who speaks to dead people.
And, over the course of, having those encounters, he came to trust the ghosts more than real people. And, I think that was based on, at least in part, like what they were saying turned out to be the truth, turned out to be corroborated eventually, So, we never got the chance to actually see what would have happened, but, ghosts and real people seem to agree that something bad would happen. So,
corporeal, non-corporeal life forms all around agree.
And, I mean, if nothing bad would happen, what's the point of it all?
That is a question. That is a question. You could then ask, well, what is bad? Bad for who? How bad? And I think this whole mock court thing is really, my point is, they never convinced us anything bad would really happen, and they never really convinced us what would it be. And I don't understand why that's so bad. I mean, or to say, I don't understand why they couldn't have done that. What's so hard with just saying, the light in every man would go out.
Yeah. And they could, if they so felt like it, connect that to the darkness spreading.
Yes, exactly.
Those things are obviously, opposites. So it, darkness spreading, the light going out, it all would sort of fit together. But they chose not to specify any of that.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree with you. Like, I stand here before the court, just really, really wanting to believe that the point of the show has larger consequences. And that's why I believe the ghosts and the hearsay, but I have to admit that, it doesn't meet any kind of standards for, actually believing something in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
If that's all I had to go on, if this were real life, and that's all I had to go on, I wouldn't believe it either. So
yeah.
I can't blame you if you don't, Your Honor. I believe it because I watched 6 years of the show, and I want to think it matters.
Mm-hmm. So you're basically pleading insanity.
And some people said it matters. Yes, that's what I'm doing.
Insanity, Your Honor. The only way to view loss.
Wow.
All right. Well, that does it for the podcast, I think.
Okay. I agree.
Anything else with Hearts and Minds?
We put them on trial.
We did.
Like that. No, I think that's about it. It was decent. I not a bad episode. It still is kind of fillery, but I think with your little theory on it, that makes it seem a little better in terms of significance. Yeah,
I mean, there's nothing huge to me to detract from that alternate theory, and I think it works better with sort of the behind-the-scenes stuff that you don't really know at this point.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I
mean, But, all right, everybody, thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with special.
Oh, yes. Can't wait.
Thanks and namaste.
Namaste and good luck.